heard one comment, no? You know, the east coast, the east side of the Philippines is relatively unpopulated. I guess it's facing the Pacific Ocean and very strong amihan. But if we can have fishermen strong enough, why don't we take advantage of the pristine area on the east side of the Philippines?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what they're saying. In one of the presentations, they say that the fish, the fish catch from the wild is getting smaller and smaller. And they say, let's do the aquaculture or mariculture because this will take, it can replace what we cannot get from the wild. That's going, and now it has, I think, it has overtaken the wild caught. It's through this mariculture, through this fish cages, and it's increasing. And they say we still have a lot of waters since we're an archipelago. We still have a lot of waters. If you will compare, I think they compare it to Vietnam, which is probably 2/3 of the waters. They're using it with this mariculture thing. That's why they're getting good supply. So actually, we're still alone. I think we still have a lot of room for that in developing these fish cages throughout our archipelago.
To make it strong enough for the east side, because the east side, the amihan is really relentless. That's why there are no cities on the east coast.
Well,
only 102 cities.
Well, if Norway could do it, I guess the winds, the coast of Norway, I will be there. And they are very successful in the production of this Atlantic. If they could do that, I think they can do it here with the sturdier fish cages that we have.
Because if you look at the onslaught of winds on the rocks, these are really fierce winds. You're talking of sometimes 20, 30 feet winds. Is that going to wipe out your cages?
Well, I'm not familiar. Well, we have coves. Probably we have coves there, so we can put it in those coves. And as I said, if Norway is successful in doing this with those strong winds, I think that
because they have the fjords that go inland as far as 100 miles inland, so we have natural protection. Okay, anyway, questions please. Question, comment, please. Please comment to the mic.
I found a study in Sri Lanka on sea bass culture, and it appears to me that he who wins will be that is able to get the free fish waste from the markets. No one's paying for their feed in this thing in Sri Lanka. They're getting it from the fish markets, all the waste at the end of the night or whatever it may be. But that's the primary thing. There's a pro forma on this. This is 2018, smaller cages. But is there a market in fish waste now?
Fish waste.
Fish waste. In other words, from all these public markets, at the end of the night, or whatever it is, there's fish waste that they have to dispose of. Okay, that is the food for the sea bass in this place. And what's happening is the fish farmers are getting it for free from all of the fish markets, which I guess is being said is it's a service to take away the fish waste, so to speak. There's a transport cost of the fish waste going out. But I'll tell you that fish waste, he who controls the fish waste has hardly any cost of feed. And you're telling me that feed costs 80%.
Fish meal is the cheapest of all meals, right? Of all animal meals.
No, what I'm saying is,
fish trash.
what farmers are doing, if you're talking about 300 cages for every region around the whole perimeter, then you need to place these cages very close to the fish markets, and you need to use as feed the fish waste that comes out of these things, just like this model does. And then your feed cost is going to be dramatically lower. The other issue is, if you don't do it this way, you're not going to be able to compete.
The fish stresses used to have a lot of those fish trusts that you're mentioning. But nowadays, I think even those small fish that we used to get in the market, they could do they could use that for other fish product like bagoong. So you know, if you're talking of this kind of proportion, going to big production,
Actually, this is a small product. Remember something. If I can go to the this is scavenger. I can go to the market, the fish market at the end of the thing, and I'm taking away all the fish waste, which is fish waste is smells and all this other different things like that, and you bring it to your fish cages and it's off the coast. That's a good service on all things, but what this will end up being is there will be a market of fish waste to feed these fish cages off the coast. It's a good idea, but you need to look at what other people are doing. They have pro formas on this entire thing. On this.
yeah, in fact, that is the suggestion of before to get all of those fish trusts. But nowadays, there's no more volume of that fish trust.
Every night, in every single market, there's a ton of fish. I go to the market, go to Kuban Market, they cut it up for me, and they throw all this goop into something. It's every night, everywhere, they have that open that can be taken away, and it's a service for the markets, without question.
And that would be great because it would really lower the cost. You know, if you could do that.
Well, the question is, what percent?
This makes this advantageous to the individual farmer who's going to be going out. These nets are square nets and all. And there are ways in which to do this and really propagate significant amounts of incomes for people on the coast.
You don't have enough fish waste here. He's talking about cages that can hold up to 40 tons. I mean, think about
This market. What this is right here is it seems to be smaller, not the massive ones. But what I'm saying to you is every single fish market, every single village has waste at the end.
Yes, the fish waste now is being used to feed catfish, the hito. That's the main consumer now of the fish waste from the market.
So from all, are you talking about wet fish waste, or are you talking about dry fish waste?
Both wet fish waste. I mean, we've been trying to dump 16 tons of bad import fish, and the market price for that is about 12 pesos. All the way delivered Pangasinan. It would cost me 12 pesos just to get it Pangasinan. So there's not enough. I mean, I guess there's a lot, but for small scale, they get enough.
Unless there's this giant network that's going to every single fish market and collecting it and distributing it and everything else, there's got to be massive amounts of fish waste there. These other countries, this is the first one that I read.
Okay.
I'm sure that other studies that I will look at will be showing the same mechanism. This is also an environmental thing. I guess, whether you're growing catfish with it or whether you're growing anything with it, I look at how can an individual farmer use this system to want to help the market, there, bring it out, and then feed everyone without cost. And you have your transport costs, but again, local perimeter things where everyone's fishing and all. It seems to be a very good system.
Let me get it clear. Fish meat is the cheapest of all meats, of all animal meats, is that correct?
Not anymore. Fish meal has moved up to about $1,400 a ton,
Okay.
from maybe 600, 800.
Yeah.
So it's getting expensive.
Very expensive.
It's short. I mean, you're talking about Peruvian catch
Okay.
that influences the prices of fish meal. And when the catch is bad, it goes up to $1,400. So the poultry industry, all the feed mills are having to deal with this fluctuation in price. So there's been a boom.
It's still cheaper than animal feed.
Well, it's a component of animal feed. It's the digestible protein that is more used for animal feed. So, all sustainability standards these days require that the feed mill proves that they are trying to move away from fish meal because they're saying so plant proteins are test. They're even talking about insect meal, all other kinds of protein that can be substituted for fish meal because it's so high in that.
I'll make another suggestion for you. You can grow high-density mulungai. Okay? High-density mulungai.
Malunggay.
High-density mulungai, they got 650 tons of biomass per year over a 4-year period, planting it as every 4 inches, 1 million plants per hectare. That's a leaf count of maybe 250 tons per hectare. Okay, and if you guys grow that, and then you put the wet leaf, you put the wet leaf in there, if they will eat that, in their studies they did with cows, they found that when they fed mulungai to cows, and they fed them dry, about 1.5 kilos per day, they increased their weight by 30 to 45%. They increased their milk production by 45 to 63% by eating mulungai. So you should test. You guys know all the fish people over there. They must test mulungai. See if they will eat it. Run a test on feeding them that, and you feed it wet, not dry. You never dry mulungai. Okay, but you look at that.
You know, in one of our discussion how to lower the feed cost, we try to replace the animal feeds component to plant-based, but I was told that there will be a digestive issue for the sea bass.
There what?
There will be a digestive issue in feeding plant-based.
Try it. Okay, try it. It doesn't, it's really the Google high-density mulungai, okay? If you guys grow this off the coast or you know, whatever you do, chickens eat it, cows eat it, I would think the fish would eat it as well.
So, ipilipi leaves. Ipilipi leaves eat them by humans in Japan.
What I'm looking at is there are technical studies that prove that it increased the growth rate dramatically, okay? And it increased the milk production with mulungai. And it has all these different things, all these essential amino acids, and all things like that. So as a feed stock for you folks, maybe phenomenal. And you don't have to go through the drying process. It's a pick and feed.
Question is, how much does it add to their feed cost?
You're growing massive amounts of mulungai. You're growing 250 tons per hectare of mulungai leaves, and you attune it. Every 42 days, you get, the study ranged between a month, but there were nine pickings a year. So you can actually arrange it so that every day you're picking and you're feeding.
What do you say to that, Ms. Taco?
I'm sure the feed millers is the audience for this because they're all looking for alternatives to high value protein. So
The feed millers are all looking at dry. Everyone's looking at dry food.
I understand that, but it's very hard to talk to the direct fishermen to say, grow malunggay, harvest it, and do that. I think the audience for the feed substitute should be the feed mill. Because you're talking about volumes that he's going to need. And it's only one part of his diet, right? Whatever malunggay is going to do is only going to be one part of the diet. I think the more critical part that you have to be careful with is that people have tried to do the sea bass. The problem is that it is carnivorous. So it is very intensive that you have to keep separating them. Even from your 1-inch stage, I have people that have tried to grow it, and we actually finance them. And at the end of 6 months, if he stopped, 1 million fry, there were only about 100 pieces left at the end of 6 months. Because they ate each other. So really, in the intensive farms in Malaysia and Indonesia, it is you have to actually even inoculate this fish at a very small stage. So that's why this cost is very high. Because it's carnivorous, it's very intensively needs support. You have to inoculate this little fry one by one. Right? So,
There is a they're saying that there is a technique on the 1 inch or 2 inches size that it has to go through a sequence before putting them in the draw out stage, because that's the problem. If it's not fed well, they will be eating each other. That's why, sir, one of the I think studies done, the recovery rate of this one is only 50%. But once it's done well, it could go as high as 85%. That is, if you put them in a broad stage where the size is big enough that they can eat each other. Because when they're small, I mean, the amount of this sea bass, they're big. They will swallow their whole, at a certain stage. But after a while, you go to that process. Provided you feed them well, it's always there. But you see, we're doing 20 tons of on that certain size that I mentioned, 20 tons yield. If the food conversion ratio is 1:2, but they say it's 1:1, but 1:2, so you would need something like 40 tons of feeds for that. So that's a lot. That's only one cage.
The Mulagay is 650 tons per hectare, and you're getting about 230 to 250 tons per year of wheat. And then if you spread the other things to it, that may help as well. The other aspect of Mulagay is it's an antibiotic.
Well,
understand this. Are you paying money? Are you paying money for antibiotics for these fish?
I don't think he's doing it.
No. There's no.
Are they using antibiotics for these farm fish?
No, it's forbidden in sustainability programs. You're not supposed to use antibiotics in any aquaculture.
My sense is if they're capable of eating plants, if they're capable of eating plants, then they won't be carnivorous because they'll have something to eat. And I think your death rate will go down if you feed them something like Mulagay that can protect them from disease. I'm not in the fish business, okay, or anything like that. However, growing these high-density materials for feeds next to your animals, all right, is really good practice. And again, I don't want to put anyone out of business, but the wet feeds, we did a study and we found that when you dry Mulagay, you're going 800 grams of wet, you're going down to 100 grams of dry. So you're throwing out a huge amount of mass. And the vast majority of what's in the nutrients is in the liquids. So when you're using these wet leaves to feed these animals, they're getting massive amounts of nutrients and bulk. So good experiment.
Yeah, well, I've not heard about using Mulagay because maybe it might affect the growth rate because these are carnivorous.
Increase the growth rate. Increase the growth rate by cows and ruminants by 30 to 45%, feeding them 1.5 kilos of dry, which is about 12 kilos wet. If they fed them dry, they would have been able to do it a lot less. The drying rate is like 8 to 1.
For a fish farmer, small scale, beef farmers will give out those 300 acres or so. Would it be worth it for them to switch to sea bass instead of buggles? How much are they getting out of buggles? If sea bass is riskier, might be a little more dangerous to venture out for that. If the buggles, the market's already there, and if they're making, for example, I don't know figures, $80. If they can make 160 for sea bass, then okay. But I mean, what's the price difference? Because for me to switch, if I'm really profitable making the most, will I dare risk going to sea bass considering I don't know anything about it yet?
Bubbles, currently it's high price today, but normally the 800 grams, which we always buy, 800 grams out, that's around 120 pesos. So sometimes during the peak season, it goes down to 100. So, sea bass, you'll have at least 200, 250. And if the cost If we could incorporate the malunggay, it will work, or the trash fish, if we could get that, it might, since 80% of that is a cost, it would even be lower, and I think profitability is higher. And besides, we're talking of huge market. Sometimes those most people, if all of them harvest at the same time, prices really drop. This one, we're talking of huge market, huge volume that could be developed. That's why, that's what some people are saying, why not most? This is a already established market, and you know the cost, more or less, fluctuation. I said, bangus is only a limited market. Sivas is up there. If we could go, if we could go to our model, 1.4 million metric tons. Although Norway did that for 50 years. Maybe we do it 10 years, or that is huge.
But that being said, I think you were mentioning that in Malaysia it's already being done, Indonesia it's already being done, sea bass.
Yes.
So why aren't they doing the levels of a Norway, and why is there still a big market if these large countries with Indonesia more water than us, more space? And no typhoon, no danger, no nothing. They're just happily growing there. Why is there still a lack? What's stopped them from becoming so big? What's the reason? Because I would think it's a more dangerous thing to do in the Philippines, considering the typhoons coming in. Indonesia, never a typhoon, and they've got more water, they've got more
Or
financing.
in the round, outside the type of
In fact, I was expecting General Labib to come here, but he's right now in Mindanao. So their group is interested in this 300 cages, and they have all these waters, and they're asking.
Do it in the snow area.
Yeah, that's it. Tawi-tawi.
Yeah.
No, definitely. That's already in the pipeline that we'll do that.
Yeah, Mr. Becamino.
Yes, thank you. I don't want to be out of step here, but I'd like to express an opinion of focusing on sea bass. The way the discussions are going is that there seems to be so much challenge in growing this product in the market. I don't know how it compares. I represent the cantula industry in the Philippines and canned sardines as well. These are two products that are big ticket items, no? Because our capacity is about 1,500 metric tons a day for tuna canning, and canned sardines is produced at about 2.4 billion tins every year. And it's low price compared to sea bass. Sea bass does not market well because it has a very select market niche. Mahal siya. India sells it at 2,200 pesos per pound. Per pound. When you talk of Atlantic sea bass, there are several strains of sea bass. And the apahap yan, what we have here, is what can be marketed here for local consumption. But that's no price. That's the 150, 160.
Di ba you consult for households?
Seed brain is what we were doing.
No, they were doing a paha.
Yeah, we were doing apahap.
But as you know, they're not.
Think ocean based.
No, they had it in cages. They had
I know, yeah.
big rootstock, which they
Yeah.
finally sold because it was not economical. They figured they could import it cheaper, and so they're now importing it. So that's the issue. The international market of this, the biggest market is Australia, but that is for a fillet that's about half kilo to 1 kilo, which means your fish is about 3 kilos. That takes about 2.5 years to grow. And I don't think we're ready for that. I mean, the best that Alston's did was about 1 kilo, except for the breeders.
Even in Australia, barramundi is more popular.
Yes,
It's a kingfish.
yes. So it's fairly high price. That's why I said this fish was contending to be the next for salmon. So your medium price, because your tilapia is what you're talking about, $1.50 for the whole fish. Your pangasius is about less than $1 today. So that's your low-end aquaculture white fish. This was going to be your medium to high-end aquaculture white fish, competing with sea bream, sea bass, right? More what they call it, I don't remember the English, but it's called the lubina in Spain. And then the cod. But all that, we're talking about $10 up per kilo. So this is going to be a nice price point because Malaysia is selling that at about anywhere between $4 and $6, depending on the shortage. But at $4, that's the 200 he's talking about. So if his cost is only 200 pesos, it is already 200 pesos. That's the reason why Alsons is importing it, because he can get this for $3.50 to $4 in China. So we can't afford. I mean, we can't afford to produce it. I mean, it's if you get the free fry and all that, you know, from Bifar.
That's the point that I was going to
Yeah.
raise, that there's too much challenge in promoting the product. No? Because it's a high value choice product. So that market niche is going to be small.
No, it's growing. It's growing. I mean, we used to do only a few hundred kilos a month. Now we import maybe about 4 tons a month. And Alsons does about a container every 4 months perhaps. Right? Together with, I mean, they're even importing the pampano, the golden pomfret. Right? Which again was the one that was trying to grow here. But they found this cheaper. I mean, that stuff, the high end that we export from here was about $3 a pound for a premium in, say, a high-end Pinoy supermarket. But China stuff goes for like $2 a pound. So how big is that high-end fish market for the Pinoys in the U.S.? Diba? So they do get a premium. But, you know, China will go for $2. They just mass produce this stuff. Diba? So it's hard. I mean, we've been looking for alternatives in the Philippines for mariculture, but there's a reason why to date it's still the most. Diba?
You know, shrimp.
Well, not mariculture. I mean, shrimp, yes. I mean, shrimp is the only.
In tilapia.
Well, tilapia, we used to be the third largest exporter in the world. The third largest producer in the world. But we didn't export a single kilo. We've now dropped, we're about 5, the last statistics I saw this year, we're now about 5 or 6. Because other countries have grown in their production. And there's a huge trade in this. But, you know, we can't compete. Again, you know, they're selling that in China to sell the fillet. Sure, there's a little bit of treatment, but the raw material is about $1. Right? And we talk to a tilapia farmer here, and that's $1 for half a kilo fish. We rarely grow it below 200 grams because your local market is so strong at the 5 pieces per kilo fish already. So to tell them to grow 400 grams, and then they'll sell it for $1 just so that we can compete in the fillet market, no farmer's going to do that. So, you know, so that's the problem with our tilapia. I said, we were the third largest producer, now we're number 5. Because all the other big guys are now exporting it.
You know, if I were to do the sea bass, I would grow it in the size of, like a plate size. Currently, I checked with Costco. They are selling sea bass coming from Greece at $7.99 per pound. Definitely, that is a wicked fish if you're from the US. $7.99. Yeah, but you know, if we could go lower, you know, I could sell them $5, which is $2.27 per pound. I think, you know, one of my distributors already in Costco, so we could introduce them. So you know, that $7.99 price is in the US. That's a wicked fish. We'll try to get it as an everyday fish. So maybe price it retail between $4.99, maybe that's $3.99. So that's why we could get it lower. Actually, right now, because it's 150, then I could get it 200, 250. You're still in the price range where we could penetrate that everyday fish in the US market. I think we can dislodge even Greece, even if that's Atlantic. I mean, the price, the taste is similar to the Asian. So if I were to do it, I'll do it in the plate size. The Chilean sea bass, you will see they're big. They're 5 kilos, and they're done into steak. And they're 1,900 pesos per kilo. So if that would be raised in volume, then that would be my approach. With that kind of pricing, I think we could penetrate that market.
How long will it take you to go to that size?
Oh, it's only 6 months. 6 months. That's why we're doing that would be done. You know, we have people already who've done that. If the gentleman is from households, probably they would have bigger. Because I think they were doing 100 metric tons prior to 2007. All this sea bass. So why they stopped probably to say marketing,
Cost,
so
I mean, price from imports.
it's lower than.
We were able to import as low as $3.50. So $3.50 is only 175 pesos. So if your cost is already 180 to 200, it's gonna be hard to compete.
But,
I mean, we were buying local, but there wasn't enough.
I think
They would run out. Yeah.
but I think we can sell that $5 between $4 to $5 in the global market.
Okay.
Sorry, just for a second one. I just checked with the owner of Feedmix. They have tried Manulay. They said question of availability, supply, and they haven't found any additional. So maybe you should talk to them, not to us.
Yeah, I have one.
I'll send you the study.
I sent it to him. He is the owner of Feedmix, and he said they tried. They looked at Manulay.
That's what I was, and the digestive issues for the sea bass.
Well, they just.
Digesting for the fish or for the humans?
No, the sea bass. The sea bass.
There are Israelis here that are doing sea bass, okay, in that same net. I ran into them, I had a conversation with them, what are you doing? I said, I'm doing farming sea bass. Call the Israeli Chamber of Commerce and ask them who the guys are that are doing sea bass and see what they're doing, okay?
Don't send us. We'll buy some.
Yeah.
Not even a question of buying, it's about expertise,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And if there's gonna be a program, it's gonna be 300 pages, talk to the Israelis and see if they'll work with them.
We try to support local, but if it runs out, I mean, we get into a contract for 6 months to somebody to supply fish, and we try local, and then after a month they run out, or it's a typhoon, they can't get to the market.
The Jews might sell better than you guys. Again, they're producing and they have markets all over the place. Everyone has their value and all, and if the stuff is done properly, okay. And I have factories here, we did it properly, it's very successful. But if you have systems and there's money available for the 300 cages, you might want to go smaller cages. You might want to get 2,000 smaller cages instead of 300 bigger cages, depending on what it is. But talk to these Israelis.
Okay. Here
Just a question. The Chilean sea bass, for it to be 5 kilos, is and caught, this would be wild caught, not farmed. And
I was told they're using fish cages also there.
but aren't they deep sea fishes?
Caught
But
in the
for
Antarctic.
5 kilos, that they have to be deep sea.
Salmon, I think, also grows to 5 kilos.
Yeah, but salmon doesn't go deep sea. It's kind of like they stay between the warm and the cold area, so they're not really that deep. The Chilean sea bass, if I'm not mistaken, for that big, I mean, I think they said they were the ugliest fish in the world.
When I talked to the Norway embassy, they mentioned that even the Chilean adopted their technique for growing these cages.
5
So,
kilos in fish
That's
feed.
salmon. That's salmon for Chile.
But Chilean, they said, they're doing that. I don't know, because 5 kilos, we checked the sizes of the fish cages in Norway. It is 50 meters diameters and 20 meters deep. So it's big compared to what they are recommending here of 18 meters to 6 meters. So there are, I think this one could grow to 5 kilos. Maybe what you're saying might be some are caught well and some are.
I think the initial, because when I'm not really familiar with sea bass, but when I first encountered it, I kind of did a little research and found out it's deep sea, it's wild caught. I didn't know that they had fish cages now for that big.
Chilean sea bass is really, it's not from Chile, and it's not a sea bass, it's just the name that the Americans called it. Chilean sea bass is a Patagonian toothfish, and it's caught in the Antarctic. And the reason why it's known to be Chilean is because anytime you catch from the Antarctic, the landing is either New Zealand, South Africa, Chile, and it became popular in the US, but it grows all the way to 30, 40 kilos, and it is wild caught. It's deep caught fish in the Antarctic, and that's really why it's so oily. It's because you can imagine how cold is the catching ground. And so it's now under limited catching. But I think it's more referring to the Chilean salmon, which is the second largest producer of salmon after Norway, and are using the same technology of fish cages.
Also on the meat of the sea bass, if I compare it with salmon I can taste the meat. Whether they have a sauce or oil or whatever, I can taste the meat. With Chilean sea bass, I don't taste the meat, I taste the sauce. I don't know, because I've eaten in the restaurants and I'm eating the fish and it's like, I'm not eating the fish, I'm eating the sauce.
Soy sauce tasty.
The only thing nice about it is the texture. It's white, it's chewy, it's a nice texture. That's the only thing. But in terms of taste, I don't remember a taste.
Maybe they use
Sorry about that. A couple of only two restaurants.
maybe they use the enhancer to increase it, which is popularly used by processors.
Mas masarap managosan ang pahak.
Maybe if you bought it from China, most likely that they use
MSG.
the STP.
MSG. Okay. Well, I want to ask Ms. Tango first. What would you do to get the local fisher folk get more into this?
So plant proteins have been the test. They're even talking about insect meal, all other kinds of protein that can be substituted for fish meal because it's so high in that.
I'll make another suggestion for you. You can grow high density mulunga. Okay. High density mulunga. High density mulunga. They got 650 tons of biomass per year over a 4-year period. Planting it as every 4 inches, 1 million plants per hectare. That's a leaf count of maybe 250 tons per hectare. Okay, and if you guys grow that, and then you put the wet leaf, you put the wet leaf in there. If they will eat that, in their studies they did with cows, they found that when they fed mulunga to cows, and they fed them dry, about 1.5 kilos per day, they increased their weight by 30 to 45%. They increased their milk production by 45 to 63% by eating mulunga. So you should test. You guys know all the fish people over there. They must test mulunga, see if they will eat it. Run a test on feeding them that, and you feed it wet, not dry. You never dry mulunga. Okay, but you look at that.
In one of our discussion how to lower the feed cost, we try to replace the animal feeds component to plant-based. But But I was told that there will be a digestive issue for the sea bass.
There we are.
There will be a digestive issue in feeding plant-based.
Try it. Okay, try it. It doesn't, it's really the Google high density mulligan, okay? If you guys throw this off the coast or you know, whatever you do, chickens eat it, cows eat it, I would think the fish would eat it as well. That would be
It's like ipilipi leaves. Ipilipi leaves. Ipilipi leaves eaten by humans in Japan.
What I'm looking at is there are technical studies that prove that it increased the growth rate dramatically, okay? And it increased the milk production with mulligan. And it has all these different things, all these essential amino acids, and things like that. So as a feed stock for you folks, maybe phenomenal. And you don't have to go through the drying process. It's a pick and feed.
Question is how much does it add to their feed cost?
You're growing massive amounts of molligai. I mean, you're growing 250 tons per hectare of molligai beets, and you attune. Every 42 days, you get, the study ranged between a month, but there were nine pickings a year. So you can actually arrange it so that every day you're picking and you're feeding.
What do you say to that, Ms. Taco?
I'm sure the feed millers is the audience for this because they're all looking for alternatives to high value protein. So
The feed mills are all looking at dry. Everyone's looking at dry food.
I understand that, but it's very hard to talk to the direct fishermen to say, raw malunggay harvested and do that. I think the audience for the feed substitute should be the feed mill. Because you're talking about volumes that he's going to need. And it's only one part of his diet, right? Whatever malunggay is going to do is only going to be one part of the diet. I think the more critical part that you have to be careful with is that people have tried to do the sea bass. The problem is that it is carnivorous. So it is very intensive that you have to keep separating them. Even from your 1-inch stage, I have people that have tried to grow it, and we actually finance them. And at the end of 6 months, if he stopped, 1 million fry, there were only about 100 pieces left at the end of 6 months. Because they ate each other. So really, in the intensive farms in Malaysia and Indonesia, it is very, you have to actually even inoculate this fish at a very small stage. So that's why this cost is very high. Because it's carnivorous, it's very intensively needs support. You have to inoculate this little fry one by one. Right? So,
there is they're saying that there is a technique from the 1 inch or 2 inches size that it has to go through a sequence before putting them in the grow-out stage, because that's the problem. If it's not fed well, they will be eating each other. That's why, sir, one of the I think studies done, the recovery rate of this one is only 50%. But once it's done well, it could go as high as 85%. That is, you put them in a broad stage where the size is big enough that they can eat each other. Because when they're small, the amount of this sea bass, they're big. They will swallow their whole, at a certain stage. But after a while, you go through that process. Provided you feed them well, it's always there. But you see, we're doing 20 tons of that certain size that I mentioned, 20 tons a year. If the food conversion ratio is 1:2, but they say it's 1:1, but 1:2, so you would need something like 40 tons of feeds for that. So that's a lot. That's only one cage.
The molligai is 650 tons per hectare, and you're getting about 230 to 250 tons year of wheat. And then if you spread the other things to it, that may help as well. The other aspect of Olongai is it's an antibiotic.
Well,
I'm just saying this, are you paying money? Are you paying money for antibiotics for these fish?
I don't think he's doing it.
no, there's no.
Are they using antibiotics for these farm fish?
No, it's forbidden in sustainability programs. You're not supposed to use antibiotics in any aquaculture.
My sense is if they're capable of eating plants, if they're capable of eating plants, then they won't be carnivorous because they'll have something to eat. And I think your death rate will go down if you feed them something like Molligai that can protect them from disease. I'm not in the fish business, okay, or anything like that. However, growing these high-density materials for feeds next to your animals, all right, is really good practice. And again, I don't want to put anyone out of business, but the wet feeds, we did a study and we found that when you dry Molligai, you're going 800 grams of wet, you're going down to 100 grams of dry. So you're throwing out a huge amount of mass, and the vast majority of what's in the nutrients is in the liquids. So when you're using these wet leaves to feed these animals, you're getting massive amounts of nutrients and bulk. So good experiment.
Yeah, well, I've just heard about using Molligai because maybe it might affect the growth rate because these are carnivorous.
Increase the growth rate. Increase the growth rate by cows and ruminants by 30 to 45%, feeding them 1.5 kilos of dry, which is about 12 kilos wet. If they fed them dry, they would have been able to do it a lot less. The drying rate is like 8 to 1.
For a fish farmer, small scale, beef farmers will give out those 300 acres or so. Would it be worth it for them to switch to sea bass instead of bubbles? How much are they getting out of bubbles? If sea bass is riskier, might be a little more dangerous to venture out for that. If the bubbles, the market's already there, and if they're making, for example, I don't know, figures $80. If they can make 160 for sea bass, then okay. But I mean, what's the price difference? Because for me to switch, if I'm really profitable making the most, will I dare risk going to sea bass considering I don't know anything about it yet? What are the
Well, bubbles, currently it's high price today. But normally the 800 grams, which we always buy, 800 grams out, that's around 120 pesos. So sometimes during the peak season, it goes down to 100. So sea bass, you'll have at least 200, 250. And if the cost, if we could incorporate the Molligai, it will work, or the trash fish, if we could get that, it might, since 80% of that is a cost, it would even be lower. And I think profitability is higher. And besides, we're talking of huge market. Sometimes most people, if all of them harvest at the same time, prices really drop. This one, we're talking of huge market, huge volume to be developed. That's what some people are saying. Why not most? This is a already established market, and you know the cost is more or less, fluctuation. I said, bangus is only a limited market. Sea bass is up there. If we could go, if we could go to our model, 1.4 million metric tons. Although Norway did that for 50 years. Maybe we do it 10 years, or that is huge.
But that being said, I think you were mentioning that in Malaysia it's already being done, Indonesia it's already being done, sea bass.
Yes.
So why aren't they doing the levels of Norway, and why is there still a big market if these large countries with Indonesia more water than us, more space? No typhoon, no danger, no nothing. They're just happily growing there. Why is there still a lack? What's stopped them from becoming so big? What's the reason? Would you know? Because I would think it's a more dangerous thing to do in the Philippines considering the typhoons coming in. Indonesia, never a typhoon, and they've got more water, they've got more.
Or
Finance.
possibly for Mindanao, sounds very type bill.
In fact, I was expecting General Labib to come here, but he's right now in Mindanao. So their group is interested in this 300 cages, and they have all these waters, and they're asking.
Do it in the slow area.
Yeah, that's it. Tawi-tawi.
Yeah.
No, definitely. That's already in the pipeline that we'll do that.
Yeah, Mr. Becamino. Yes, thank you. I don't want to be out of step here, but I'd like to express an opinion of focusing on CBAS. The way the discussions are going is that there seems to be so much challenge in growing this product in the market. I don't know how it compares. I represent the cantula industry in the Philippines and Kansas as well. These are two products that are big ticket items, no? Because our capacity is about 1,500 metric tons a day for tuna canning, and Kansas is produced at about 2.4 billion tins every year. And it's low price compared to Sibas. Sibas does not market well because it has a very select market niche. Mahal siya. India sells it at 2,200 pesos per pound. Per pound. When you talk of Atlantic Sibas, there are several strains of Sibas. And the apahap yan, what we have here, is what can be marketed here for local consumption. But that's no price. That's the average 50, average 60.
No, di ba you consult for Alsons?
Seed brain is what we were doing.
No, they were doing a paha.
Yeah, we were doing apahap.
But as you know, they're not.
Big ocean based.
No, they had it in cages. They had
I know, yeah.
big rootstock, which they
Yeah.
finally sold because it was not economical. They figured they could import it cheaper, and so they're now importing it. So that's the issue. The international market of this, the biggest market is Australia, but that is for a fillet that's about half kilo to 1 kilo, which means your fish is about 3 kilos. That takes about 2.5 years to grow. And I don't think we're ready for that. I mean, the best that Alsons did was about 1 kilo, except for the breeders.
Even in Australia, barramundi is more popular.
Yes,
It's a kingfish.
yes. So it's fairly high price. That's why I said this fish was contending to be the next for salmon. So your medium price, because your tilapia is what you're talking about $1.50 for the whole fish. Your pangasius is about less than $1 today. So that's your low-end aquaculture white fish. This was going to be your medium to high-end aquaculture white fish, competing with sea bream, sea bass, right? More what they call, I don't remember the English, but it's called the lubina in Spain. And then the cod. But all that, we're talking about $10 up per kilo. So this is going to be a nice price point because Malaysia is selling that at about anywhere between $4 and $6, depending on the shortage. But at $4, that's the 200 he's talking about. So if his cost is only 200 pesos, it is already 200 pesos. That's the reason why Alsons is importing it, because you can get this for $3.50 to $4 in China. So we can't afford. I mean, we can't afford to produce it. I mean, it's if you get the free fry and all that, you know, from Bifar.
That's the point I was going to
Yeah.
raise, that there's too much challenge in promoting the product. No? Because it's a high value choice product. So that market niche is going to get small.
Well, it's growing. It's growing. I mean, we used to do only a few hundred kilos a month. Now we import maybe about 4 tons a month. And Alsons does about a container every 4 months perhaps. Right? Together with, I mean, they're even importing the pampano, the golden pomfret. right? Which again was the one that was trying to grow here. But they found this cheaper. I mean, that stuff, the high end that we export from here was about $3 a pound for a premium in, say, a high-end Pinoy supermarket. But China stuff goes for like $2 a pound. So how big is that high-end fish market for the Pinoys in the US? Diba? So they do get a premium. But, you know, China will go for $2. They just mass produce this stuff. Diba? So it's hard. I mean, we've been looking for alternatives in the Philippines for mariculture, but there's a reason why today it's still the most. Diba?
You know,
Well, not mariculture. I mean, shrimp, yes. I mean, shrimp is the only.
And tilapia.
Well, tilapia, we used to be the third largest exporter in the world. The third largest producer in the world. But we didn't export a single kilo. We've now dropped to about 5. The last statistics I saw this year, we're now about 5 or 6. Because other countries have grown in their production. And there's a huge trade in this. But, you know, we can't compete. Again, you know, they're selling that in China. To sell the fillet, sure, there's a little bit of treatment, but the raw material is about $1, right? And we talk to a tilapia farmer here, and that's $1 for half a kilo fish. We rarely grow it below 200 grams because your local market is so strong at the 5 pieces per kilo fish already. So to tell them to grow 400 grams, and then they'll sell it for $1 just so that we can compete in the fillet market, no farmer's going to do that. So, you know, so that's the problem with our tilapia. I said, we were the third largest producer, now we're number 5. Because all the other big guys are now exporting it.
you know, if I were to do the sea bass, I would grow it in the size of, like a plate size. Currently, I checked with Costco. They are selling sea bass coming from Greece at $7.99 per pound. Definitely, that is a wicked fish if you're from the US. $7.99. Yeah, but you know, if we could go lower, you know, I could sell them $5, which is $2.27 per pound. I think, you know, one of my distributors already in Costco, so we could introduce them. So you know, that $7.99 price is in the US. That's a wicked fish. We'll try to get it as an everyday fish. So maybe price it retail between $4.99, maybe that's $3.99. So that's why we could get it lower. Actually, right now because it's 150, then I could get it 200. You still in the price range where we could penetrate the everyday fish in the US market. I think we can dislodge even Greece, even if that's Atlantic. I mean, the price, the taste is similar to the Asian. So if I were to do it, I'll do it in the plate size. The Chilean sea bass, you will see they're big. They're 5 kilos, and they're done into steak. And they're 1,900 pesos per kilo. So if that would be raised in volume, then that would be my approach. With that kind of pricing, I think we could penetrate that market.
How long will it take you to go to that size?
Oh, it's only 6 months. 6 months. That's why we're doing that would be done. You know, we have people already who've done that. If the gentleman is from households, probably they would have bigger. Because I think they were doing 100 metric tons prior to 2007 of this sea bass. So why they stopped probably to say marketing, you know. So
Price from imports.
it's lower than
We were able to import as low as $3.50. So $3.50 is only 175 pesos. So if your cost is already 180 to 200, it's going to be a bit hard to compete.
that.
I mean, we were buying local. But there wasn't enough.
I think by,
They would run out. Yeah.
but I think we can sell that $5, between $4 to $5 in the global market.
Okay.
Sorry, just for a second one. I just checked with the owner of Feedmix. They have tried Malunggay. They said question of availability, supply, and they haven't found any additional. So maybe you should talk to them, not to us.
Yeah, I have one.
I'll send you the study.
I sent it to him. He's the owner of Feedmix, and he said they've tried. They've looked at Malunggay.
That's what I was, and the digestive issues for the seabus.
Well, they just.
Digesting for the fish or for the humans?
No, the seabus.
There are Israelis here that are doing sea bass, okay, in that same pen. I ran into them, I had a conversation with them, what are you doing? I said, we're doing farming sea bass. Call the Israeli Chamber of Commerce and ask them who the guys are that are doing sea bass and see what they're doing,
They'll
okay?
send to us. We'll buy from them.
Yeah.
Not even a question of buying, it's about expertise,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And if there's gonna be a program, it's gonna be 300 pages, talk to the Israelis and see if they'll work with them.
We try to support local, but if it runs out, I mean, we get into a contract for 6 months to somebody to supply fish, and we try local, and then after a month they run out, or it's a typhoon, they can't get the market.
The Jews might sell better than you guys. They have, again, they're producing and they have markets all over the place. Everyone has their value, and all, and if the stuff is done properly, okay? And I have factories here, we did it properly, it's very successful. But if you have systems and there's money available for the 300 cages, you might want to go smaller cages. You might want to get 2,000 smaller cages instead of 300 bigger cages, depending on what it is. But talk to these Israelis.
Okay, you're right.
Just a question. The Chilean sea bass, for it to be 5 kilos, is and caught, this would be wild caught, not farmed. And
Our store, they're using fish cages also there.
but aren't they deep sea fishes?
Caught
But
in the
for
Antarctic.
5 kilos, that they have to be deep sea.
Salmon, I think, also grows to 5 kilos.
Yeah, but salmon doesn't go deep sea. It's kind of like they stay between the warm and the cold area, so they're not really that deep. The Chilean sea bass, if I'm not mistaken, for that big, I mean, I think they said they were the ugliest fish in the world.
When I talked to the North Korean embassy, they mentioned that even the Chilean adopted their technique for growing fish cages.
5 kilos in fish.
That's salmon. That's salmon for Chile.
But Chilean, they said they're doing that. I don't know, because 5 kilos, we checked the sizes of the fish cages in Norway. It is 50 meters diameter and 20 meters deep. So it's big compared to what they are recommending here of 18 meters to 6 meters. So there are, I think this one could grow to 5 kilos. I mean, maybe what you're saying might be quite, some are caught well and some are.
I think the initial, because when I'm not really familiar with sea bass, but when I first encountered it, I kind of did a little research and found out it's deep sea, it's wild caught. I didn't know that they had fish cages now for that big.
Chilean sea bass is really, it's not from Chile, and it's not a sea bass, it's just the name that the Americans called it. Chilean sea bass is a Patagonian toothfish, and it's caught in the Antarctic. And the reason why it's known to be Chilean is because anytime you catch from the Antarctic, the landing is either New Zealand, South Africa, Chile, and it became popular in the US, but it grows all the way to 30, 40 kilos, and it is wild caught. It's deep caught fish in the Antarctic, and that's really why it's so oily. It's because you can imagine how cold is the catching ground. And so it's now under limited catching. But I think it's more referring to the Chilean salmon, which is the second largest producer of salmon after Norway, and are using the same technology of fish cages.
Also on the meat of the sea bass, if I compare it with salmon I can taste the meat. Whether they have a sauce or oil or whatever, I can taste the meat. With Chilean sea bass, I don't taste the meat, I taste the sauce. I don't know, because I've eaten in the restaurants and I'm eating the fish and it's like, I'm not eating the fish, I'm eating the sauce.
Soy sauce crispy.
The only thing nice about it is the texture. It's white, it's chewy, it's a nice texture. That's the only thing. But in terms of taste, I don't remember a taste.
Maybe they use,
Sorry about that. A couple of only two restaurants.
maybe they use the enhancer to increase it, which is popularly used by processors.
Mas masarap ang nabasa ng
If-
pahak.
if- Maybe if you bought it from China, most likely that they use
Yes, MSG.
the STP.
MSG. Okay. What else? Well, I want to ask Ms. Tanto first.
Yes.
What would you do to get this thing?
Well, I get criticized with before because a lot of their programs for the small fishermen, right, means let's stop imports, let's control the industry. I mean, you have, for example, the Daname, the shrimp, that can grow all the way up to 100 tons per hectare, right, of shrimp. I mean, where people are profitable. I mean, you can grow this extensively. I always say, why? If they really can't catch anything because our fishery grounds is overfished, they should really put a hole in the ground and grow something. I mean, you can stick shrimp in there and grow. The problem is we're overregulated, and so they don't allow that, right? So, I guess I'm a little bit controversial in saying if there's no fish there, let them grow shrimp instead and not protect them. And, if we can improve the fishing grounds, and we're starting to do that by limiting catch, right? Then fine. Then you just stop fishing like other countries for a certain period of time, let the resources recoup, and then they can catch again. But we're not strong enough for that.
Like sardines.
Yeah.
You only catch 9 months a year.
Exactly.
It's close fishing for fish.
So they're trying to do that now on the Longong.
The problem is you produce more fish because
We don't handle it well.
we don't, no, because sardines has a very short window for staying alive.
Yes.
They die very quickly. So if you don't can them, if you don't can them immediately, you'll just lose. You just lose all that stuff. In the 3 months that you didn't catch to boost the volume, has gone to waste. That's the problem that I am now facing.
What do you mean goes to waste, Moment? I mean,
Pardon?
because if they don't catch it, it's just gonna die?
Yeah.
Or they catch it, but they don't process all of it?
No.
I'm not sure
They
what-
don't catch it. They don't catch it because there is a law that says municipal fishermen can only are the only ones allowed to catch within a 15-kilometer
16.
kilometers from shoreline. That has been reduced now to 10.1 kilometers. In the time of President Marcos, the limit was 7 fathoms. It was on depth. Now
Long
it's
distance.
now it's on distance. Here is a problem. Municipal fishermen cannot catch beyond 10 kilometers from shore. Their boats will just turn over. They cannot. So, if they're the only ones allowed to catch, they won't be able to catch this fish. So what happens March 1, when the closed fishing season is assumed to be operational, you really physically see the sardines beaching. For explaining bad word from that. You see them on beaches, and they just die. Sayang.
In fact, that is the suggestion of the FAR for this as feeds for the
Yes,
funds.
you know, but I brought this up on the Senate floor with Senator Singca Villar, that there must be a change in the law. There must be an amendment to that. And she says, no, I want to protect our municipal fishermen. What you tell your commercial fishing people, buy from the fishermen. I said, sure, we'll do that, but that ups our cost because you're adding one layer of profit for them. And yet, then the DTI come down on us and say, you have SRP, you can't sell. This is suggested retail price. It is lower than our costs. Is this so? I've been debating this with Mon Lopez, and but I think I partly succeeded because they've stopped issuing SRPs now, but for now, but I think it's only for the issues. Again, brownie points. That's all they're working. Fishing is a very complicated issue. In fact, I support and advocate that there must be a department of fishing, not before. It's only a bureau, can't do too. So I hope something develops out of that advocacy.
I don't know if you've ever been to like a place like Real or Real Quezon or Mercedes, Camarines, that's all facing the Pacific Ocean. There are all types of fish, the morning huge, and all types of varieties. Have you seen that? Because I think the eastern part of the Philippines is not really open, it's not being overfished. Because it's facing the whole Pacific Ocean. And that's where the tuna highway passes through also. Huge catches, right there.
You know, and
This is so much for the west side, which is all fish.
you know, I still believe in that sea ranch. If you could enhance through, you know, artificial recruitment of those other fish, you know, species, and put it in certain areas to develop catch. I still support that. If it could be done, or even legislated, so that, you know, it's not only for the, you know, for the development of the population of those certain species, but also it could, you know, it could clean the water because of this symbiotic relationship of those species.
And you know, one of our partners here, special partners from Polo, has this brine immersion with preserved fish. It's still underutilized if I can live for Polo. It's supposed to produce jobs and incomes, and that's all very rich fishing grounds. But it has been developed. It's a look. Of course, I don't know about it, but there's potential promise there.
We are, you know, with Kawi and we'll be doing something.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Just wanted to comment. I've been to see Tech and Iloilo, and I saw the nets. Those are really deep nets. They had one wherein it was a breeder parrotfish. I was looking down and I saw this little fish swimming up, and then I said, "Tagal niya na." It's still swimming up, and it's getting bigger and bigger. And when I saw them out, I said, "Oh, I'm walking out here," because the pathway is only 5 planks of wood, and we were walking around the fish cages, and those are really deep. The water was really clear, really clear. They had the typhoon that passed that area. The funny thing was, they lost the breeders. All the breeders were able to get out. But fortunately, all the fishermen caught the breeders because they were all tagged. They had a tag. They caught the breeders. They didn't eat them. They kept them alive and they gave that to seedling. So I think like what they do in Norway, these are probably, I think we just need to make sturdier nets and structures. and
Yeah.
answer it better.
No, you will have that choice because, for the local manufactured nets, they say it will only last 2 to 3 years. But my friend who's doing this for a long time, he said he does not use that kind of local made. There's a brand for that. It lasts 5 years, but it's more expensive. It's if the local is 275, this imported one was close to 500,000. But for them it's worthwhile because it lasts longer. So you have the choice there.
Okay,
Sir, last
yeah,
question.
okay.
What you have to freeze the fish, is that blast freezing?
Oh yeah, that's freezing. That's why I'm suggesting we can do all of this with the supply, identify a certain area. The government will not get in there. I can go there and put out a processing plant. You need ice maker. That's very important, especially in the islands. Glass freezer, then cold storage, and that would be very helpful in gathering all of these supplies.
I kind of want to understand the process because I encountered this from a Canadian source. They're able to make snow, and the ice that's made from that lasts longer under the sun than the ice you have in the freezer. I don't know if that.
I'm not on that. Yes, I'm speaking.
Yeah, because it's
Yes, no.
the structure. I mean, it's been a long time. It's an old Canadian technology that when because if you use regular ice from a freezer, you just put it there to keep everything cold. It melts really fast. Even if it's insulated, it melts. This one, you insulate it, you open it, the ice block is still there.
No, it's slurry.
No. They
It's a new technology. Where'd you hear about this?
a long time ago, a Canadian company.
No, the more interesting news is that live fish has been frozen, has been thawed, and has lived again. I think that has a number of implications for human beings. Okay, we're done. We're going to close and ask our Vice Chairman. I guess he wants to say a few words.
I'm really excited by today's talk because with the collective wisdom of Mr. Singca, Mr. Paco, and Mr. Camino, I think if these are brought together, it's a powerful wisdom and insight. And Noni said he's willing to go anywhere in the Philippines to help set up a processing setup.
Yeah.
Now, for me, as I mentioned at the start, I attended the National Academy of Science and Technology Forum in Blue Economy. But, Mr. Chairman, kulang sila with businessmen. And I think with our speaker and two resource persons and integrate this should be a very powerful component. I mean, after attending that meeting, I told myself, I'd like to develop the Blue Economy Network. So that's the excitement I'd like to bring out in this. Finally, linking to this, and until Noli said he's willing to go to the other parts of the Philippines to set up the processing plant, I could not see a very strong involvement by the small fishermen. I think there's need for entrepreneurs to be the anchor initially, because I'm not clear. I don't, unless we have models of successful fishermen cooperatives, I think there's more perhaps for the entrepreneurs who will have some capital to put up and then be the lead, the anchor, either per area or per commodity. That's all.
I think this is crucial also. The setup of processing plant. You put that in areas like mentioned the Ligan Bay. They said that have a lot of galunggong, not fished out, 100 metric tons. I set it up there. Just make sure that somebody will buy every day the catch and process it. That is a good source of supply already. Or we go somewhere else, maybe Tawi-Tawi, they could do that too, I told, you know that these are eminent group. If you could supply me the octopus, they do that. They sell that, you know, they on a regular basis. Octopus. You have abalone. Basically, they have almost the cuttlefish and seaweeds. I will set up a plant there that will help your people there, employment, give you the supply, just make sure that, you know, the price is right, and we will process it there. And I think that's for us, that would be a very good source for our products. And maybe a very good price.
From the time of Secretary Alcala, down, all the way. Now, Secretary Willie Dar is looking for a project to do. Okay? What you can do is talk to Willie and tell him, give me an ice. You don't make it processing because not everybody can do that. All coastal towns get an executive order to require all LGUs in coastal towns to have an ice plant. Okay, whether it is don't produce black ice because you know they're saying it's not very efficient. Use maybe tube ice or something like that, or flake ice for use in storing caught fish. That's going to be important. Now, the reason that fish catching is not very efficient is because the fishermen don't know where to bring them after they catch. See, but if it's reachable to every coastal port on a 200, all over the Philippines, then you have already improved your catching flexibility.
That's actually my suggestion, the third part. Set this up in those identified coastal area with landing areas, and if government will not help us there, we would be there buying their fish catch every day. Since we have the processing plant, we have the blast freezer, we can store it there until it's one full container to be out for shipment.
Anyway, Ernie Ordonez was here earlier, but he had to leave or something. But he and I belong to a chamber of food and agriculture, which includes Picavi. And I'll bring this up with Picavi to push Secretary that to resume the interest in setting up this ice plant.
Yeah.
Mini ice plant, because they shouldn't cost too much.
Well, you know, that's really important in this. Yeah. So me, I will just add processing. If government will do that, the ice maker, the ice plant, we will just put processing plant. Might as well put processing plant then together, you know. So the fish with after caught, then process right away. That's good quality, you know, product.
What is the population of fishermen in the Philippines?
9 million. Fishermen.
Fishermen. Population. No, not 9 million. 2 million fishermen out of the Philippines.
Let me make one suggestion. With the Silk Road, now there's lots of ships, not just the Silk Road through Pakistan, but the Northern Passage is open. So the Arctic ice is not there. So now ships are going around to go to Europe and everything else. And the time that it takes to transport because of the Silk Road or because of that is about half. Which means that you're going to have an overabundance of containers, okay? If you cut your time in half. That means lots of frozen containers. So you can take frozen containers because you'll be able to buy them inexpensively because there'll be an abundance of them. And you can place your frozen containers anywhere. And you know what a frozen container is? It's an ice plant. Not only is it an ice plant, but it's a place to store the fish. And the fishermen can come in with their fish to put it in there, and they can bring ice out. And he wants integrity of the supply so it doesn't spoil. But you guys should start looking at all of the frozen containers that are going to be excess. It gives you can put your cold plants anywhere.
Okay, yeah, we don't really want to final point, what, would you like to say anything else?
Yeah, setting up all of this, the processing plant, this might take time. What I did before is picking up those supplies from these islands. I use seaplane. It's a long time ago, probably, when Charlie Miller he passed away. And recently I was looking for that seaplane because you don't need processing plant right away. You just go up and get that. But the cost, I was able to talk to Joy Rojo. He said, yeah, there's one being sold for $1.7 million US. So,
You see, the float is more expensive than the plane.
okay, yeah. He said, why don't you just, if you want that, why don't you just have the small plane, it's only 10 million pesos, and you have a small runway, that might be viable. And that would be faster while waiting for all of this processing plant and those farm to market roads that would take a while. And getting all of these supplies in the islands.
Sir, just a question. What capacity of a seaplane do you need?
That's one time.
One ton.
Yeah. And then there's a cheaper one. Eh?
No, no.
You have one? We can probably use that.
Because a friend of mine designed one, he built one, fully built, and they flew it.
Seaplane?
It's a seaplane. It's not ambiguous. It basically lands and takes off on the water, and he did it by remote. It's the only seaplane right now in the world that I know that has been able to take off and land by remote control. And the wingtip it's built like a sailplane. So it's designed for long distance flights.
Can it carry cargo?
Yes, that one can carry me for about 100 to 200 kilos. But
About a ton.
yeah, 1 ton we have to increase the size.
Maybe remove the seats.
No, we need to enlarge the fuselage.
Right, I've had experience with small planes and seaplanes also. The float is more costly to buy and to maintain because of the salt water. It's more costly than the plane itself. And there are only probably two plane models that can do it commercially. And they're not really available anymore. One plane is clean water. Okay?
I think the best thing that has happened in transport is the use of fritters,
Of what, sir?
the use of containers. That's the one that is lower the cost anywhere in the world. So airplanes and so on, they are always costly. Anyway, my question is very simple. You say that you have a market. You say that you have technology.
Technology to produce it.
Yeah, to produce it, yes.
That's going to be part.
That's right. Why is it that we are not able to produce, to fill the market with technology that we have? Where is the problem? Is it lack of capital or investment? Lack of entrepreneurs or producers? Or is it the economics of this enterprise?
Well, probably you know this. Outsource did the heavy production of this Cbus 2007, right? I was asking them, why did you stop? The question was, that was 2007, before the time. He said, the markets are dead during the time.
So they did that for you.
Probably not.
Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, we are 15 minutes over time. We are over time already. So we have to close. Before that, I want to remind you that except for the last session next week will be on coconuts. What is it? Is this testing? What is it? Okay? Those of you who are interested in coconuts and other products as well, please feel free to come next week, same time, same place. And I will ask, because they asked Ms. Tampo to do the honors of presenting our, because we hardly see her, we would like to see a little bit more of her.